Hi everyone, my name is Maria and I am the Green Stitcher here on Flosstube and over on Instagram. Thank you to all of the returning viewers and welcome to anyone new and watching me for the first time. So I am a stitcher from Belarus who has been living in the UK for the last 6 years. I have been stitching for about 9 years now, besides, sort of learning to do it when I was a young girl at school. And I have stitched a variety of projects over the years, different styles, different designers, and my tastes have changed. And you are watching my mid-year 2024 WIP parade. So I do apologize straight away for my voice. I have fallen ill the first week of July and I was hoping to film this video on the last day of June on Sunday last week, but I've, like I said, I've fallen ill, haven't been at work, have been down sick and didn't want to delay it anymore. Today is Saturday, June 6th. I promised and I'm hoping July 6th. I hoped and I promised you to release this video tomorrow. I'm slowly starting to get better, but my voice is not back to normal yet, unfortunately. So I hope you'll stick around, you won't mind too much. And yeah, so I have asked you on my Instagram and on the community tab a couple of weeks ago if you'd like me to film a mid-year WIP parade, as well as a lot of other stitchers. I have been enjoying everyone else's WIP parades. That's probably one of my favorite videos to watch, especially if I don't know the stitcher yet, to sort of get a really good idea of the kind of designs and styles and materials they like to use. I usually go and watch the latest WIP parade to see if we're in tune and if I should stick around on the channel and subscribe. So I hope this works the same for you as well. If you want to get to know me a bit better, here's a video where I show everything I currently have in progress. So WIPs are works in progress for anyone new. I'm currently in my hobby room where I film most of the time, and I do apologize, my floors creak a little. I didn't notice it until I was editing my latest video, so that noise you've just heard, that's just the floors. I do apologize. What else did I want to say before we start? So yeah, probably let's do like the general what do you call it, like accounting. So like I said, I've been stitching for a while. My taste has definitely changed and is still changing, and I'm discovering new materials and designers and things to stitch. Very exciting. A lot of new sort of fabrics and like I said, styles and materials that I'm using. And I would say probably the last half a year has been exactly the biggest change as compared as to before. So you all wanted to see my WIPs, though I did show them, I would say it's about 4 months ago now, at the beginning of March when I created this channel. A lot has changed actually, so if you want to see this one, definitely stick around. So I currently have, and like I said, I'm filming on the 6th of July, though I was hoping to do it last week. So I have already done some of the July progress, and I'll keep it to just, sort of end of June. And any progress that I've made in the last week, I will not show you. I'll show the picture of the design as it was at the end of June. I hope that makes sense. There's only a couple of projects like that, and the rest of the things are, up to date, as in I haven't touched them in July just yet. And so what I'll be doing today is I'll be going with you through all of my current WIPs, like I said, in chronological order of their start. I'll be telling you, the design of the fabrics, all the things, to make it a bit easier on myself, not to have to edit this too much, so it takes a bit quicker to upload and all. I will create a live Google spreadsheet that you can just view, and I'll link to it in the description, where I'll just name all of the designs, the designers that I'm showing you today, the what else, the fabric that I'm using, if I'm stitching 2/2 or 2/1 or 3 or whatever, and if I made any changes and substitutes. And so if you haven't heard what I said in the video properly, or my voice is still a little bit interfering, you can go into that document and view if you need to find a particular fabric you liked, or you didn't hear the designer's name that I said, or something else. I will try to leave links in that document as well for any sort of digital patterns, or at least name, you know, sort of where I found that design, if it's on Etsy or if they have their own website, that sort of thing. But if you still have any questions and you would like to know something more about these WIPs, please ask me in the comments below. You can also message me on Instagram, like I said, Maria_the_green_stitcher. I'll be happy to help if I can. And before I show you my first WIP, I'll super quickly show you how I store my WIPs, as I feel like that's a big part of you know, the whole WIP parade thing. Everyone stitches, you know, on different sort of stretching methods, be it hoops or sometimes in hand or in Q-snaps or scroll frames or something else. So I wanted to show you my method. Again, just that's just what I'm doing, not necessarily the best method for everyone, but that's something that works for me. I have figured these things out throughout the years of stitching, and I've sort of set on this style and this method of stitching for me at the moment. So I'll be inserting pictures here just because I can't show you at the moment. So I stitch most of my designs, 90% of them, on scroll frames, and this is how I store them at the moment. So you're seeing one of the corners of this hobby room where I keep my scroll frames vertically sort of tucked away where the sun doesn't directly shine on them, and if I need to I can cover them from dust a bit as well, but I haven't found that they get dusty anyways. I do have a few scroll frame covers that I've shown in my previous videos, but I use them only on current WIPs when they're set on the table and I'm trying to protect them from my two lovely cats. And then the second photo is a little canvas sort of bin that I picked up from a sort of home decor store, which used to host all of my project bags with all of my WIPs, and because I've sort of grown to the amount that I have today, it doesn't fit all of them anymore. I only have a couple of smaller things there, a couple of sort of soon-ish planned starts, and a couple of other sort of smaller packs of materials that I might need in the near future. And then as for the actual project bags, which I'll be showing you individual ones with each of the WIPs, let me show you here actually. They live now on my shelf next to the two boxes where I keep my leftover floss. So that's DMC, and that is Owl Forest, Dimensions, and other hand-dyed fabric, hand-dyed floss companies like Classic Color Works and that kind of stuff. Like I said, it's not all of my WIPs, there's just some of the bags. And then if you haven't seen my Stitchy Corner video, which I will link to here now, that's where I'm showing where I keep my master set of DMC, if that's something you're interested in, where I keep sort of all of my other supplies. And then the last bit I want to show you as well, because I won't be showing them in the video. Again, 90% of my WIPs use these plastic floss and needle organizers that I get off Amazon. There's two versions for 30 and for 50, and I have both versions multiple times because I have so many WIPs. And like I said, almost 90% of my WIPs use these, and here's a picture of them all living in one drawer in a chest of drawers that is on the side of me, and I can tell by the flosses and the numbers on them and things which WIP they belong to, so I don't really mark them on there. But yeah, I am not big on plastic in my stitching. I'm trying to get rid of it as much as possible, but I haven't unfortunately found a good like wooden alternative to these, because I really love the the dual sort of functionality of them, keeping both floss and needles at the same time. If you have seen something similar that is made out of wood and like I said, hosts both floss and needles, give me a shout. Like I said, message me here or on Instagram. I'll be really grateful for the link, or at least the name of the crafter who makes something like that. So I think that's all of the accounting in general, and probably let's get started with the WIPs. Like I said, I will be showing them in the chronological order of them being started. I have 18 at the moment, 18. That is a lot for me. I'm normally somewhere, I would say below 10 at one given moment. And this year has been a bit different. Like I said, in my stitching, I have been trying new things. I have been trying new designers and styles, and I also had Mania on my channel this year. So again, I'll link to the playlist to that here if you want to watch some of those videos. I planned to start 5. I started 7 designs. I stitched each for a week and made individual videos about each of the weeks, let's say, because like I said, in some of the weeks when I started 2, there was just one video to cover both, and that definitely contributed to me having more WIPs. And I think I've mentioned it in another video as well. I think having stitched for 9 years, I have probably reached a certain point where I'm not desperate to get things finished and get them FFO'd and put them on the walls or, you know, on display. And I think I'm slowly switching more to being a process stitcher, which means I enjoy working on multiple projects with different materials, like I said, different styles, and I'm not necessarily, you know, aiming for a soon finish so I can FFO things, though I do still do that, and you can see FFOs and finishes on my channel on a semi-regular basis. So I think that's it. Without further ado, it's already been a long intro. Let's get to my WIPs. Before I start as well, I wanted to also say I use Cross Stitch Saga app for most of my cross stitch, 99% of it, and that is the app that keeps my statistics for stitching. I also have a spreadsheet that I've created for myself from scratch to track my stitching over each month and then add it up and add it over the year. So that's where I'm going to be reading you the numbers from, and if I'm looking away to this direction, that's where I'm looking. If you want to see a sneak peek of how I use it and how I've created it, give me a shout and I'll probably make like a little video or add it into one of the monthly updates. So let's get to it. My oldest current WIP is the, let me show you the bag first, is the Japanese Garden by Dimensions. It is a kit that my sister got me a few years ago. She lives in Japan and knows that both me and my husband and our whole family love Japan, love the culture, love the gorgeous scenery, so she knew I would absolutely love stitching this project. As you can see, like I said, it is a kit, and I started it on the, let me do just months and years, not days as well, because it's not that relevant, is it? So this one was started in February 2020. Like I said, my oldest WIP by far, and it lives in this project bag. So I used to buy them on Etsy, and then I found a sewist local to me in the UK who made me a few from my own fabrics, and then I learned to do them myself, and a lot of the ones you'll see today I've made myself. This one is the one I got from that wonderful sewist. So Japanese Garden. So over the course of the 4 and a bit years, let me give you the statistics for the last half a year probably, and sort of overall amount of stitches that it has, if it says to you anything. So this design has about 43,500 stitches, and that's including all of the back stitch, all of the half stitches, everything. If you've used Cross Stitch Saga app before, you know that it reads sort of all of the types of stitches and gives you the approximate amount overall. You know, as two backstitch stitches will be counted as one cross stitch, one bead as one cross stitch, and so on and so forth. So I have stitched quite a lot of it before January 2024. In January I had 30,500 stitches on it, and I was at 70%. And then over the last half a year now, you know, like I said, since the beginning of the year, I have stitched about 7,000 on it, and this is where I am today. So I am at 86% and I'm almost done with it, and I'm really excited. Like I said, I started it in 2020 in February to in anticipation of our trip to Japan to see my sister and visit her there for the first time. And as you know, 2020 turned out to be a difficult year for all of us, and a lot of our trips, and mine in particular, were cancelled as well. So we still haven't been, and we're hoping to go visit my sister in the next sort of couple years. And I would really love to finish it before we do so. So like I said, 86%. I have it's the bottom half is all completely done, and it's, I don't want to unscroll it. I will show you the whole finished design when it's done. But yeah, here I am, like I said, hoping to finish it very soon, and I only have 6,000 left to do. So again, hoping that it's going to be a very soon finish. Next one is a design by Encore, and here is, I've printed it out as a photo instead of the preview because the kit is not very forgiving. This is a bigger size, obviously. So this is the Poppy Field by Encore, and it has about 47,000 stitches. So currently my, no, I want to say is my biggest WIP. No, it's not. No, it's not. I just remembered. So, like I said, it has 47,000 stitches. I started it in March 2022, and I'm stitching it for my mom, who loves poppies, and she wanted me specifically to stitch this one for her. She didn't want a basket with poppies or a bouquet with poppies. She wanted them sort of in their natural habitat. It lives in this bag that, again, I got made by the same sewist, and you'll see the same fabric and the same color coordination again later on with my own bag. And I have actually not made any progress on it this year yet, because I ran out of scroll frames. So I used to stitch on scroll frames that I clip on, and if you have tried them and you stitch on linen, you might see that it's really hard to get even tension and get the linen to stay, you know, straight and in there without slipping out. So right about mid-year, I have mid-year, I mean between now and January, so right about March time, I have swapped to sew on scroll frames. I really love using them, but I'm trying not to, you know, stack like 20-30 of them. So I have run out. So this design just lives sort of rolled up in a closet at the moment. So I have stitched about 20,000 on it so far, and it's at 43.8%. And here's where I'm at. This is being stitched on, I've swapped the fabric, the Ada, for 32 count Witchet linen in, you know, ivory cream, something light cream color. It's not white necessarily, and I'm stitching with all of the kit flosses and things, and it's a beautiful design, but I'm not, like I said, my taste has changed, and I'm not into landscapes and just simply floral designs anymore that much. But because I'm making it for my mom, obviously I'm going to, you know, go on and finish it. So the left bottom quarter is completely done. with all the backstitch and French knots and all of the stitches. And then I started working on the left top corner and put it aside. And like I said, unfortunately haven't stitched on it this year yet. I am hoping that when I finish working on the Japanese garden and it's about the same size, the fabric is about the same size as that, I will be able to use the scroll frame from the Japanese garden for this and start making, even if slow, still progress on this lovely design, because it does look gorgeous. The colors are fantastic. These are my favorite colors. So like an olive green with red and this mustardy yellow. Absolutely perfect. But yeah, like I said, I just need to get it back into my sort of active WIP rotation and make some progress on it this year as well. All right, next on my list of WIPs is one of my favorite designs, and if you have watched some of my other videos, you know I love Stony Creek. I haven't stitched many things from them, but I did finish a lovely Christmas design that I showed in one of my favorite FFOs and finishes that I've ever stitched videos. And now I'm stitching my second design. So it is the 12 Days of Christmas, like I said, by Stony Creek. I'm stitching it on, like I said, on a digital pattern from Cross Stitch Saga, but with the obviously of the original booklet. So the booklet gives you two options to either stitch it separately as ornaments plus a main design with the partridge, forgot the name, or you can stitch it all together this way, which is the way I'm stitching it myself. And so this design lives in this project bag, and again made by the same sewist from my own fabric. I feel like it's Christmassy, you know, themed with the red flowers and the gold and the green. And this one only has the additional materials. The regular floss, like I said, is on one of those floss and needle organizers, and I have got everything that's needed. So all of the hand-dyed floss that is needed, glisten gloss, some beads, lovely colors here again. And here is my progress. First of all, Stony Creek has about 25,000 stitches. At the beginning of this year I had 10,000 done, which was about 40%, and now I am at 63%, and I have stitched about 6,000 this year. And here's where I am today. Again, it's all sort of rolled up and you won't be able to see the first 3 days, but again, I'll show you all of that when it's completely done. So I am at the point where I have completely finished the central motif except for the beads. I have finished days 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm currently working on days 6 and 7, hoping to finish them in July, for Christmas in July. And this is one of my favorite fabrics. So this is 32 count wet shot linen in color Water Lily. It's a gentle green, which I absolutely adore. And it's actually, I think, the called for fabric, except I changed the count from 28 to 32. Yes. Yeah. So lovely design. Really love the way it's turning out. I love the combination of the colors again. Like I said, wine red, olive green, and mustard red are my favorites. And I'm doing all of the stitching as I go, all of the back stitch, all of the I don't think it has any specialty stitches, but yeah. And the only thing I'm leaving till the end is the beads, because there's only a handful of them in sort of berries in a few smaller motifs, and I'll be doing that at the very end. And so the plan for this design is, like I said, I'm hoping to finish days 6 and 7 in July, and then go on stitching 1 day a month to finish it early next year. Am I saying everything I wanted to say about it? All right, I started it in December 2022. I was having a sort of Christmas start along for a few designs that Christmas holiday and this was one of the designs that I started. Next up, we have my other Encore kit, which is the English sampler. Again, I've cut out the front sheet out of the kit. So it is a map of England that only has the outlines of the map, some of the most sort of prominent sites, and then a gorgeous border made out of white and red roses. I fell in love with it when I saw it on eBay, snatched the kit up straight away. I started it, I think last year in May. Yes, I did. Last year in May for my 5th anniversary of moving to the UK. And I have not touched it for almost a year now, unfortunately. Again, it's one of those where it's so big, I don't have enough scroll frames for these big designs. So unfortunately it's off the frame at the moment, but it's stunning. I actually saw another one pop up on eBay the other day, so it's not out of production, or at least not completely sort of unobtainable, and it's gorgeous. It's one of the best maps I've seen. I've been hunting for a map of England for a while now. It doesn't have a proper project bag. It lives in one of these little folders, again because I'm not really working on it at the moment. This is the one I could not get into Cross-Stitch Saga, so if you haven't used it before, it's a lovely app and it works really well when it works. However, to get the pattern into a format that it's going to read, it takes a lot of time because you kind of have to hand redraw it digitally to then be able to upload it to Cross-Stitch Saga. Most of the time you can scan it and then have that scan as like a background in a PM program, which lets you then, you know, put the stitches on top. But again, it's a hand drawing sort of process, which takes a while. If your pattern, however, has been stuck together from different sheets and the grid has not, you know, stayed 90-degree angles at 90-degree angles throughout the pattern, it's nearly impossible to sort of do it, and you'd have to literally, you know, look at the paper pattern, put the stitch on there. And so I thought I wouldn't waste time with this one. It's easy enough, and I'm just stitching. I'll just give you a little glimpse. I'm stitching it off the paper pattern. I have glued all the pages together. Wait a second. The view of the sheet. Oh no, actually that's how it came in the kit. That's how big it is. It's almost a blanket size. That's the pattern, and yeah, I'm stitching it using that. I'm still counting my stitches just because that's something I'm interested in, to see my statistics. And I also have additional materials here, like they had a few additional skeins of black, and I have one Krynic color from the kit as well. It is a blending filament 002, this light gold. Beautiful design, really glad. So when I started it last year, I worked on it for a couple months, I think. Well, not straight, you know, not non-stop, for a couple months. And here's where I am today. I can't tell you the progress in percentage because I don't know the total amount of stitches. So far I have stitched about 3,500, I believe. And yeah, like I said, I started it last May. I have completely finished the bottom border with the roses, and I've started on the shoreline and stitched one of the first sides, and I think the names of a couple of cities there as well. So absolutely gorgeous. Love working on it. This is one of my rare WIPs on Ada. So the Japanese garden was on Ada, and then this is on kit, 18 count, oatmeal, or fiddler's cloth, whichever you call it, Ada. It's quite stiff, to be honest with you, but I do like it. I like stitching on Witchelt, so that's not a problem. I find that designs that have, let me show you the picture again, designs that have a lot of backstitch on sort of empty spaces that are not outlining the crosses are much easier for me to stitch on Ada, and an actual challenge stitching on even weave or linen. So just because of the counting, so I do prefer this. And then, you know, if you've used these sort of oatmeal color Adas, they don't even look like Ada because of how beautiful the weave is, because it has these sort of linen strands in it, and then the 18 count makes it, the hole small enough that you can't notice them either. So really love this. Again, it's one of those where I just need to get something else finished and get it on one of the scroll frames and go on working on it, because it's absolutely beautiful, and I would love to finish it, say, by the 10th anniversary of me living in the UK. So I've already lost a year in that race, and yeah, definitely need to go on working on it. It's been lovely. It's an absolute joy stitching on this. Next, I have one of the kits that again are from my old era of stitching a lot of floral and kit designs, and this is Alyssa, and it's a field of tulips. I saw someone stitch it on Flosstube, and I loved it, and it looked so beautiful and sort of very, watercolory, and I really wanted to stitch it as well. So the kit is meant to be stitched on the white Ada. However, I decided to change the color, and this one lives in one of my favorite bags, again made by the same sewist, and it has the pattern. Sorry, it has this beautiful navy fabric with some berries and some leaves, and then the inside is just navy blue. And as you can see, I've swapped the color for a Witchelt linen that I am in love with. So this is actually Star Sapphire by Witchelt. I don't have too much progress on it, unfortunately. I think I've only made like 1,000 stitches worth of progress. I take it as a rule to make at least 1,000 stitches on a new start before I put it aside. And so this is unfortunately one of those that has only just had this. I think one of the reasons is it was a very quick start, very spontaneous. I didn't have a scroll frame for it again, so I just used one of the hoops, and I had to, wash it and iron it to get the hoop marks out. The colors of the design are coming out very different from the preview, which quite honestly upsets me, because you fall in love with the preview, right? And you want to get the picture that you see on the cover. I don't know if you'll be able to see it now. I think maybe this way. It's much more, the colors are much more muted and not as saturated as they are on the front cover. So that's one of the reasons that made me want to sort of pause on it. And then again, like I said, I'm not really much into floral designs anymore. I am looking at it now, and it looks really lovely, and the stitches look nice, and the contrast with the fabric is really good. So Star Sapphire by Witchelt, again, hard to show green and blue fabrics on camera, is this very gentle teal, super gentle teal, which I think again will look very nice with the colors, will make them pop. I actually have another kit that is a companion piece to this one, and that one is a field of clover and chamomile, I want to say, and I have exactly the same piece of linen set aside for it. And this is actually one of the only designs for my website that I'm considering UFOing, but I'll see. I don't know. Again, it needs for something else to be finished so I can put it on a scroll frame, give it the proper chance to to shine. Yeah, one of the older ones. I started it in July 2023, and it has about 10,000 stitches, and it has only 11% progress on it. Next, I have another Dimensions kit. You will see I have quite a few of them in my WIPs, and this is Strength, Purity, Strength, Truth, like I said, by Dimensions. It is not a gold collection like the Japanese garden is. This is just a regular collection, which means it's a bit simpler to stitch, and it originally uses 14 count Ada, and I'll show you I swapped it for an even weave. And then it lives in this bag that I made myself from the fabric I got at a WIP craft store on one of the trips. I just love the books. I do love to read, we are currently working on building a home library, and I just fell in love with the fabric, and it doesn't really fit theme wise, but it does match the colors, I think. So yeah, again, all of the flosses are on one of those organizers, but then this hosts the original pattern, and then this is the fabric that was meant to be used, which I'm probably just going to give away to anyone who loves Ada. Probably gonna put like a lot together, one of my friends. And then I have substituted it for, I think this is a light mocha or vintage mocha even weave 28 count. So this is where I am today. And it's an almost, let me show you, it's an almost 1-to-1 match with the kit Ada. I was really pleased with that. So beautiful, beautiful design. Like I said, both me and my husband really love Japan and the culture and the sites, and I saw this design, again, some of my favorite colors in the world, and I thought, oh, I have to stitch it. So love how it's turning out, and I have a strand of backstitch hidden there because I haven't finished stitching some of it just yet. So this was started, let me just show you, and I'll be reading off the sheet. This was started in September of 2023. At the beginning of this year, I had about 33%, and I haven't stitched on it yet, and it's still at 33%. But yeah, it's turning out amazing. You know, the Dimensions kits, there's a lot of 2, 3, 4 strand half stitches. Some of the crosses are done 3/2 in flowers. The rest is normally done 2/2. And I love working on this 28 count even weave. It's really nice, and the color is gorgeous. I feel like it just highlights all of the colors even better and makes them look twice as good as they are. I'm actually really missing this design now that I'm looking at it. I really miss working on it. As you can tell, if it's not on a scroll frame, it means it doesn't have one. And because all of mine are sew on, again, I have to finish something first for me to put it back on there. So, and not just anything, it has to be something of, you know, of a similar size width-wise, so I can use the same scroll frame for it. So a bit of stitching math there for you, but yeah, really love this, really hope to come back and work on it some more soon. Next up, I think that's all of my pre-2024 WIPs. So actually not that bad. 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 WIPs from years before 2024, which sounds good. Like you saw, some of them are in quite sort of the beginning stages of them. Some have progressed quite nicely. Some are very close to being a finish. So I'm not mad about it. That's nice. 6 is really good. As you can probably see by, you know, like I said, the years when I started those, my taste has changed. You'll see now, especially compared to the recent starts, my preference in materials and designers has changed. I also lean more towards smaller size designs and not full coverage designs. And when I say full coverage, I'm using this term very loosely. I would call my Dimensions Japanese Garden full coverage almost. It doesn't actually have like full coverage every single cross. It has a bit of free space in the sky, but it has sort of the 4 corners and most of it gets fully stitched. So I'm sort of moving away from those kinds of designs and the landscapes and the just, you know, the scenery kind of designs to more something a bit more concrete, or something with not full coverage, something that is more primitive or sort of Quaker-like. And yeah, like I said, it's probably a good representation. So the 6 designs from the previous years compared to the rest of the WIPs you'll see now as of you know, what I started this year. So 1st of January this year, I started another Dimensions kit, and this is violin ornament again. You see, I tend to vandalize the covers of my kits and just cut out the most important parts of them. So it is a design that is I believe it's a petite, gold petite, but it doesn't have the standard sort of 13 by 18 centimeters size. It's about 10 by 10 or 11 by 11 centimeters. And this is a third in the series of 4. I have sold the 4th kit and I'm not going to stitch it anymore, but I have done 2 more, which again, I'll show you all of them together soon, because I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to actually finish this one this month, not even this year. So they use 18 count Aida. Let me actually take it out of the hoop for you. Right, I'm all over the place. Let's start with the bag. This one lives in one of the bags I made. This is, I think, one of the first bags I made for myself. So it has a bit of a thinner sort of worse quality plastic or vinyl for the front, which I don't use anymore. I think I didn't add enough layers or sort of interfacing for a bit better stability. So this one is really, you know, like floppy and soft, but it's still a great bag and it looks lovely. And I love this sort of holly leaf design on the back. The stitching is really good, you guys. Like the lines and everything look fantastic. So yay me for the first project bag. This one actually is the only one that has a bit of a charm thing going here on the zipper. My cat Valiera especially loves chewing on these, so I can't have them on any of my other project bags. So the kit comes with a piece of red felt, all of the floss, all of the you know, instructions and everything, obviously, and 18 count Aida. I'm stitching mine because it's such a small one on one of these Nerge round metal and plastic Nerge hoops, and it's the second smallest, about 12 centimeters diameter. Love them, they keep such good tension, but they leave marks, and if the design is bigger than the hoop, I prefer to use a scroll frame, except dimensions are quite I would say stingy. Let's say stingy with their fabric margins. So this is where I am today. Again, apologies for the hoop mark, just took it out for you because I'm currently working on it. And this is the 18 count Aida from the kit, and you only get, you know, an inch, maybe an inch and a half at best as your margin. Am I close to the end here? Because I'm getting nervous about how much space I have on the other side. Well, no matter. Like I said, I started it this January. So far, I'll be giving you the stats, you know, up to date for the WIP started this year. So the violin ornament has about 4,800 stitches altogether, and I am currently at 60% and have I'm currently at 60%, and here's what I've got. I completely finished this left border with all of the half stitches. I've done some of the back stitch on the ribbons and the holly decoration. What is this? It's not a bouquet, right? It's sort of a centerpiece kind of situation. I've started on some of the violin as well, and I'm using one of my needle binders again. I made myself from some wooden buttons. So this one, like I said, is too small to go on scroll frames because I'm stitching it with this. Another reason I stitch with scroll frames is because I can use both my hands. So one is under the frame, one is above, because I am let's say at risk for carpal tunnel, because I'm also a gamer, a PC gamer. So with I play video games with my right hand, obviously. Then I cross stitch the same, and then I also use my computer a lot at work for the same sort of in the same way. So I am I've switched to scroll frames as well to alleviate some of the pressure on my right wrist, and it has absolutely worked magic for me. And so what I'm trying to say is the projects that are so small that I have to use hoops for them, go much slower than things that are on the scroll frames, because I can only work so much on a project with one hand, you know, holding the hoop with the other hand, because like I said, it strains my wrist, and it's usually a couple hundred at best at once, and then I usually have to take a break of a couple of days before I can come back to it. So it's not a big design, I could have totally finished it by now, but like I said, because of this reason, it's only nearing the finish line now in July. Next up, I have a digital pattern I bought on Etsy, and it's Smarty Owl on Etsy, I believe. Again, you'll be able to see that information in the Google Sheet. So this is the preview of the design, and it's a beautiful round botanical design with nettle. I started it in April, and overall it has about 8 and a bit thousand stitches, and I'm currently at 15%, and I've just made a progress of just over 1200 stitches. So here's where I am today. I only did tiny progress on it in April, and have been able to pick it up and make more progress in June. So I'm quite happy with where it is now. Definitely want to be picking it up on a regular basis and making more progress. So I started this design as a start along with my friend Masha from Belarus, who is Bees Little Stitches on Instagram, and I'll link to her Instagram below. So we celebrated 5 years of our friendship in April, and decided to start designs that we have gifted each other at some point. So she picked this one for me, and I picked a dimensions kit for her that she had already finished actually, and I'm still working on my nettle. I love the colors, I love the design, I love the back stitch in 1 and 2 strands. I am stitching it on, I think this is 32 count platinum Belfast linen, and the 2 strand black back stitch I swapped for 1 strand of size 12 pearl cotton by DMC, which is what I normally do with 2 or 3 strand back stitch. Love it, absolutely beautiful. My husband loves it actually a lot. We're both quite big fans of green and plants and flowers and all things nature. He is obsessed with his garden and takes really good care of it. So yeah, both of us love this one very much. It doesn't actually have a particular bag it lives in. It only has, like I said, one of these organizers. There are no additional materials except for the called for DMCs, and I don't have a particular plan for it. I'll just be picking it up whenever I want to work on it and make progress bit by bit until I finish. There's no sort of particular date or season I want to stitch it in. It's just one of those that you just pick up, you know, whenever you want to. Alright, next we're moving on to my Mania 2024 starts. Like I said, there was 7 of them. And the first one, the one that started it all, again, if you want to hear more about it, you can watch the playlist with the individual videos or Mania overview video. And this one was my first, and definitely not last, designed by Hannah Alexander and charted by Make It Pink, or Ashley May. Pinky the Pink, I think she's called on Instagram, and it's a gorgeous, wonderful character from the Witcher universe series, and she is going to be stunning. So she's my biggest project at the moment. I think once I finish her, she'll be the biggest one I've ever finished as well, unless I start something bigger in the meantime. I am stitching this version with the frame, with the background, with the roses, with all the bits for maximum satisfaction from this pattern. And she uses a lot of Kreinik. She uses, I think that's it. It's actually just DMC and Kreinik. So she's going to be about 75,000 stitches when she's done. And if you ask Ashley for the saga file for it, you can get it on request after purchasing the PDF, and you'll be able to use it in Cross Stitch Saga app just like that. Just add it in through Dropbox or email, and you'll be able to stitch it this way. Like I said, again, it reads all of the stitches, all of the back stitch, all the fractionals, and it's just a great app to use for cross stitch. And so, like I said, I started her on the 1st of May because the character's birthday falls on the night between 31st of April and 1st of May. It made sense to me. I've wanted to start her for a while now, and I finally, had the courage to. I have been prepping for her and finally made the start. She doesn't have a bag that she lives in because all of the additional materials I have for her are Krynic spools. So I keep them in this box with a Jeanette Douglas design I stitched a couple of years ago, and here are all of the Krynics in addition to DMC floss that is on the organizer. And they're all your standard regular Krynic colors except for a gorgeous variegated thread works that is going to be used in the handle of her sword. Haven't stitched with this one yet, haven't got there. And I am stitching her on hand dyed by me or over dyed by me, 32 count Witchet linen. So here she is at the moment. Like I said, she is a big one. I have over dyed sandstone by Witchet with taupe red dye, and so it's more of a browny, parchmenty, coffee-ish sort of color. Love it. Still learning to sort of do the dyeing, but love how it turned out. I made really, really good progress on her when I started her in May, of about 3,700 stitches. And then I have decided to team up with one of my stitcher friends, Lera, who is stitching Link, and stitch at least 1,000 on our designs every month, and then share pictures, just the two of us. And I have actually stitched about 2,000 in June. So I'm hoping to be making at least 1,000 stitches sort of worth of progress every month, but like I said, ideally even 2 or more. She is quite easy to stitch once you get used to all the fractionals. There's big chunks of colors. It's easy and nice to, get a high number of stitches done in a day. Because of that, there's a lot of fun with the metallic, with the different types of stitches. Like I said, there's a lot of fractionals, different shades and colors, and I usually do, a bit of the skirt, a bit of the shoe, a bit of the background, and this way it's progressing quite nicely. I am also doing backstitch on her as I go, not to leave it all till the end, using a scroll frame, and yeah. She's going to be in a lot of my WIP parades because she's going to take a while, but she's beautiful. I'm loving working on her. Actually, can't wait to get back to her in July. I haven't had a chance yet. So I am currently at, let's have a look. I'm currently at 7.7%. And like I said, I made about 5,700 stitches so far. Yep, perfect. Next start I made in May was my first Nora Corbett, and it was the winter hair from the Holiday in the Forest collection. That is my only design from this collection at the moment, but I'm planning to buy and stitch the owl as well. Have been in love with this pattern for a while, finally bought it and kitted it up earlier this year. And it's a hefty one. If you want to use everything that is called for, it uses more sort of specialty materials than some of the Mirabilias. It has 2 silks, Karen Watts lilies, 2 spools of Krynic, different colors, and 2 colors of beads. I think that's it. Oh, and then the little leaves that are sold 2 in a pack. So you either need to buy embellishment pack, which I didn't because I had a lot of the beads in stash, or you need to buy 3 packs. So you'll have 6 of them, and then you can stitch both the hair and the owl, which is what I'm doing. So beautiful, gorgeous design. It is being stitched on this lovely light, what is it, natural casual linen on here. I felt that if it's hair running through the forest at night, it had to be on a darker fabric. And I'll show you that in a second. It lives in this project bag that I made myself with the lovely Japanese themed fabric. Love how it turned out. And then this one looks like snow to me with the turquoise. So like I said, two silks, beautiful colors, whisper thread as well. So the pink actually uses in like 20 stitches. You could definitely sub it for something else, but the whole sort of thing of this design is this gorgeous variegated background. So that is the other Karen Water silk. So this one is actually one of the designs I have worked on in the last week quite a lot. So not to muddle sort of the progress from the first half a year and then July that I haven't shown you before, I will insert the picture where it was when I made progress on it in May and haven't stitched on it until now. So during Mania, I made really good progress. So out of the 5,300 stitches, I stitched about half or even a bit more than half. And this is where the design was at that point. I am using 32 count Picture This Blast linen in color Dawn, and it's a this sort of dark turquoisey blue with some greens in it. Very lovely. Have really enjoyed working on the Picture This Blast fabrics. And like I said, I'm hoping to finish it in July, so I won't show you just yet, no spoilers, and you'll be able to see it hopefully again in the July Stitchy update. Next is one of my absolute favorite designs and designers, and it is a Shepherd's Bush stocking called Bread Stocking. Again, one of the May starts. This one I started for my husband, as I had already stitched one for me at the beginning of spring, and you can watch the finish of it on my channel. So I'm obsessed with the theme of the Three Kings in stitching. My husband loves the sea and has grown up next to sea, and so this one made the most sense to stitch for him. So I'm actually not doing it as called for. So the design is meant to be stitched on 18 count linen, 1/2 with size 5 pearl cotton by Weeksley Works, Classic Color Works, and DMC. Instead, I am swapping the fabric and the floss. So this one lives in this bag. This one again made by me. Beautiful golden poinsettias and beautiful mottled red inside. Same actually as the one in the library themed project bag. And as you can see, I have all of the cold fours, and I also have the embellishment pack. But my cold fours are embroidery floss, not size 5 pearl. So I've done the same on my stocking, and I'm doing the same on my husband's. I want to make them smaller, and I want the leftover flosses to add to my collection of hand-dyed flosses so I can still use them on other designs. And I haven't come across any other designer so far that uses size 5 pearl cotton instead of embroidery floss, except for these stockings for Shepherd's Bush. I'm only planning to do these two for me and my husband, because it's just the two of us and 2 of our cats. So like I said, I didn't see the point of buying the pearls. So I'm stitching mine on 28 count Cassia linen in color Natural. Love this fabric. I feel like it's absolutely perfect. And then I had a fat quarter of it in my stash that perfectly got divided in half for these 2 stockings, and I have quite nice margins anyways. So I'm using the embroidery called for floss 2/2 in all of the, like I said, all of the called for colors, and it's beautiful. I'm absolutely loving working on this. As you can see, again, it got bumped from a scroll frame for a different start, but I can't wait to come back to this one. My hands are actually itching. I was really looking forward to working on it in July, for Christmas in July, so I'm hoping I'll make some time for it this month. Absolutely in love. The colors are gorgeous, the blues and the reds and the greens. And yeah, I did say this already, I am a big Shepherd's Bush fan. I have stitched a couple of things. I am currently working on a couple of things. I have quite a stash of vintage patterns and patterns from kits that somebody else had stitched, and I just bought the physical copy of the pattern, as the kits can get very pricey and they call for silks, which I don't think is always necessary. I have stitched with silk so far on a couple of projects, and it is nice, but I wouldn't say that it made me want to switch to stitching just in silk or use it more. It's nice just for the variety. I still find that I like cotton floss quite a lot. Like the feel of it is really nice. So what have I done on this project so far? Let's have a look. So this is, the whole design is about 5,000 stitches. I made really good progress on it in May when I started it, and I think I'm at about 27% at the moment. It's not a big one. I mean, size-wise, it's going to be about 20 by 30 centimeters, but in terms of stitching, it's not a lot of work. You can sort of knock it out in a couple of weeks of quite, relaxed stitching. Love these. I wish I had more family members who, like the idea of stockings and would like me to stitch them for them, because I would love to stitch a lot of them. They're beautiful and gorgeous. If you like them and you have never seen them before and you want to find and buy them, I recommend going to 1 to 3 Stitch, as they have the best price, as far as I know, especially if you live in the US or UK. Do not go onto the secondhand market for these, as they tend to get very pricey for an unknown reason to me. They're not out of print. Like I said, most of them you can get on 1 to 3 Stitch. The patterns themselves are like £5-6 maybe, and then the embellishment packs are a bit more expensive with the buttons and the charms, but it's not £100 on eBay just for the pattern. That I've seen sort of consistently people charging that for just the vintage pattern. Again, not sure why. The last thing I'll say about this is, because my design is going to be smaller than the original, the charm pack and the beads are going to look bigger on it compared to the design itself, which I'm totally okay with. Next design is my second Mirabilia. Second as in ever in my life, not in my WIPs. So I finished my first one in, when was that? In April. And then I decided to start the second one in May, quite spontaneously, if I can say so. So I have this self-made series of ladies in kimonos, and so it comprises of Blossom that you saw previously, that, like I said, I finished in April. It also the Miss Dancing Flower, and the third one for me is Eliana, Princess Eliana. So I have both, have this one and Princess Eliana in my stash, and I wanted to start with this one in May, and she is MD170 Miss Dancing Flower. Like I said, she uses a lot of the same, well, all three of them use a lot of the same colors as the other two, and she looks beautiful in green, and I do love green fabric. It actually calls for Water Lily by Witchelt, which I'm stitching my 12 Days of Christmas on, and one of the other May starts I'll show you in a second. But I had an even better fabric for it in my stash. I had purchased a fat half of a Picture This Plus Crystal Da Vinci and cut it in 2 parts for her and Eliana. So here is my progress so far. Let me see if I'm in the frame. There you go. She is an absolute beauty. I am in love, and I love working Mirabilias, and so I had to start her immediately when it called for me from the stash. So this is 32 count Picture This Plus Crystal Da Vinci with the iridescent sparkly thread. I am stitching her 2/2 with all of the called for things, including some of the specialty materials. Let me actually show you those. I forgot to show you the bag. So I've made the bag for it with the fabric that is not, unfortunately, of the best quality, so it has some sort of distortion from sewing. It is this sugar skull and cacti and guitars and hot peppers sort of bag with purple. And again, this was an experiment with the cotton wadding for bags, and I don't like it because it just bunches up like this and crinkles instead of, you know, staying nice and flat. It holds the bicones. Oh no, actually this is not bicones. These are the flower shaped crystals that I swapped for the ones in stash that are similar enough, instead of buying new ones. And then it uses one color of silk, which is Tequila Sunrise by Karen Waterlilies. And I have the beads all set aside. Let me show you. Just for her in this lovely box with all the beautiful colors, just so they don't fall out. I keep mine in these glass bottles with cork stoppers and in wooden little boxes. Again, if you want to see more about this, watch my Stitchy Corner video. So again, showing you the design, giving you all the stats. So she is one of the, I would say, like a medium-sized Mirabilia, about 20,000 stitches, about, like I said, same as the Blossom design. I have made a progress of 6% on her and got just over 1,200 stitches done on those few days that I worked on it in May. Haven't had the time to work on her in June, unfortunately. Really wanted to work on her in July, but then decided to do Christmas in July, where my plans that I already have just don't fit another design. So I'm hoping at least in August I can go back to her, because I love working on her and I don't want to put her aside. Definitely want to keep making progress. Next, I started one of my stash ones and my first Witchy Stitcher design, which is Leshy, Guardian of the Woods, which is a Slavic mythological character, lives in the woods, is the guardian of the woods, protects the forest from people, from harm, and can control, you know, other animals and that sort of stuff. He is very spooky and absolutely stunning, and I have been looking for a Leshy design since I started really playing Witcher 3 in March, I think. And so I found this lovely Witchy Stitcher design. I don't think I've discovered her until then, and so now I have quite a few designs in my stash. So it's being stitched on this, I think she has a few different options for the fabric on her Etsy shop. Again, I had the perfect fabric for it. My voice is going, so I hope it will last till the end. We've only got a couple more to look at. So it lives in one of my favorite bags with this very dark navy base, and, or maybe black, and some ferns. And then it's got this green quilted bit on the inside. This one is actually one that has its own wooden organizer, but it doesn't keep, can't put the needles on here, unfortunately. I bought it off Amazon, I stained it and added furniture wax to it myself. And then it just uses DMC colors. I am stitching with all the called for, except for the red that was meant to be 498, and it's like a pinky red, and I'm using 666 instead, because it's more of like a red. It's only used in a few stitches in toadstools, so I thought, you know, that's going to be fine. This one does need 2 skeins of black, so this is my additional skein, and it was it was meant to be stitched in my mind on, like I said, one of the most beautiful fabrics. So here is my progress. So I'm stitching it on 32 count Picture This Plus linen in conifer, and I made quite nice progress on it when I started it. So 6,800 stitches altogether, and I've made progress of about 2,000, and it's 30%. So really pleased with the color of the fabric, how it's turning out. I'm actually using CXC black instead of DMC because it gives us a slightly better coverage, so there's no like see-through pieces on the black. And I'm using this needle mine I made myself, and this one is Kate on Etsy. I've linked to her before. Love the color of the red that I've swapped, and just in general the colors in this design. Again, a joy to stitch on this gorgeous fabric. I have no particular plans on working on this one. I thought, you know, if it's spooky and you know, a bit creepy, would make a lot of sense to work on it in October. I also probably don't want to put it away for that long until I make more progress, so we'll see. I think, let me see, I don't think I can finish it this year. Maybe I can, who knows, we'll see. It would be nice to finish it in October, we'll see. The next design, again, was a bit of a spontaneous start during Mania. I have picked it from the Cross Stitcher magazine from last year's May, and it was the free kit that came with the magazine, issue 395. And it is Ship in a Bottle. This lovely nautical design. Like I said, my husband loves everything to do with the sea, so I thought I'd make him an actual bookmark out of it. And everything you needed came in the kit, including the felt. But I'm not a big fan of you know, soft bookmarks. So instead, I am using perforated paper by Mill Hill from my stash. So here's how much I stitched so far. I think it only has about 1,400 stitches, and I've done half. So the actual design uses a few different shades of blue in the sea, and I have swapped them all for one color of variegated Owl Forest floss number 407. So that was very nice and easy to stitch. And then I've got a giant project bag for it, just because I wanted to make one out of this fabric. So this is Japanese blossoms with sashiko sort of pattern on top of it, and it has this mottled blue, again same collection as the mottled red from two bags I've shown you, and again bought in WIP when I was on holiday in a craft store. And I haven't even sorted the threads yet for this, so I'm just stitching the sea, and I've just made tiny progress on the back stitch and the ship, and it has a lovely needle minder by Kate again. It just felt right to put this one on here. This one I would actually like to finish in the next week or so, but I'm not really enjoying working on it, if I'm being honest with you. Not because of perforated paper, because I love it. It's more that I don't know why. I'm just not enjoying it for some reason. This one again, because it's one of the designs I have to stitch, you know, holding the paper and then just stitching with one hand, is the one that gets very little progress bit by bit until I finish it. But like I said, hopefully it's going to be a July finish. The last May start this year was I think it's only my second ever, though I have quite a lot of them in stash, second ever Owl Forest embroidery, and this is Garden Carps from their new-ish series of these beautiful Japanese inspired designs. I have the other one, well, I have this one and the cranes, not the tigers, in my stash, and I decided to start the carps first. beautiful, beautiful work on Al Forest Embroideries part. There's a lot of specialty stitches, sort of straight satin stitches. I can't wait to get to them actually. I'm only sort of down here at the bottom. So I made a special Owl Forest bag for all of my Owl Forests because I normally have just one on the go. And this is an olive green, gorgeous fabric with owls. Has brown on the inside with, what's it called? With the stitches that look like trees-ish. And then I've got one of these wooden organizers off Amazon with some floss on it. And this is the kit floss. So I bought the PDF pattern on their English website, but then I got the set of floss separately. And I am stitching it on. I'm not actually really sure what the called for color is exactly, but I think mine looks, you know, sort of almost exactly the same. So I'm working on a 32 count Witchet linen in Water Lily. Again, this is the same one I'm using for the 12 Days of Christmas. It's actually been cut off the same fat quarter as the 12 Days of Christmas, and was the perfect remnant to stitch this design on. And I am using all of the kit flosses you have seen, except for some of the 2-strand white that I'm swapping for 12 size pearl cotton by DMC. Absolutely gorgeous colors, I hope you can see, and the stitches are not as neat as, you know, stitching with non-variegated, but they still look quite nice. I love the combination of the greens, and I made quite nice progress on it in the last couple of months as well. So I started it at the very end of May, worked on it for about a week. So the whole design has about 11,000 stitches, and I've made progress of 14%, which is 1,600 stitches. So love how it's turning out. Have a lovely needle minder with the cat, drinking matcha. And yeah, I've got some side stretchers here for better tension. This is sort of how my WIPs look when I'm actually working on them, besides being on the, you know, on the stand. So love this design, absolutely want to go back to it and stitch it some more. It was absolutely amazing working on it. My favorite fabric, colors, Owl Forest are just amazing. The way they dye their floss is just phenomenal. Such a fun experience to work with them. Next, I decided to start my first ever long dog sampler in June for June Dog, hosted by Andy the Crow Stitcher, and it was the only one I had in my stash, and I've been wanting to stitch it for a while. So it is the crossword, one of the smaller ones I would say, as it only has about 20,000 stitches, and it lives in the tiniest project bag ever. So the bag was actually made for a different design that doesn't fit it, but it actually perfectly fits the floss that I'm using here. So it's about 4 by 4 inches, that's it, it's tiny. And then I'm using a cone of like this size, you know, a cone of Madeira embroidery floss, and I'm taking some of it off it and just putting it on this floss card I made, and that's what sort of lives in this bag. I'm doing it as a monochromatic piece, same as suggested, but instead of doing a dark on a light, I'm doing the other way around. So again, I have the most perfect fabric in my stash, as this piece will be FFO'd and hanging in our bedroom that is sea themed. These are the colors I've chosen. So the blue of the fabric is Loch, L-O-C-H, by Picture Plus in 32 count linen, and the floss is Madeira 1802, which is like a taupey silvery gray and looks absolutely stunning. I love it. I think it's delicate and beautiful as lace, but also gives you just enough contrast with the fabric to really stand out. Again, 2 needle minders, one from I think think this one is from Etsy. Yep, and this one is, well, this is Etsy as well, but this is Kate again. And so this was started at the very beginning of June. It has about 23 and a half, let me put it back, 23,500 stitches, and I am at 7% and 1,700 stitches in. No particular plans in terms of finishing it. It lives on one of my most popular size-wise scroll frames, so that's probably the only thing that sort of motivates me to stitch on it more, besides obviously liking the design. I found during May and starting all the things that it's a really good idea to have at least one project that is monochromatic, so that when, for the days when you still want to stitch but have no brain power left and need something really relaxing and easy, it makes the most sense to stitch on something like this. And yeah, that's what I'm doing with this, and hoping that even if I don't have those days, I'll still pick it up and make more progress on it, and hopefully have it done sort of, ideally I would say probably done by next July. It will be our 10-year anniversary next July. So yeah, it's definitely very, you know, family themed, sort of romantic kind of sampler, so makes sense for me to finish it by the time of our anniversary. Next, I have one of the most long-awaited kits. I talk about it more in my June update, and I stitched, I waited for it for about 3 months until it got to me, and I finally started at the very end of June. So I will only, I won't show you the progress that I have today. Again, I've had a chance to stitch on it some more. I will just show you the preview for now. So it's the Garden Spells by Shepherd's Bush, and I've treated myself to the kit at the beginning of spring, and it took a while to get to me. I talk more about it in the June update. And so I've got all of the kit materials, fabric, floss, and the pattern. I love that they've included like really detailed instruction about all of the specialty stitches, so it looks really easy. So here's a smaller version, sort of closer to stitching. Let me just show you here without my face, with all the beautiful, beautiful patterns. So I have been in love, like I said, with Shepherd's Bush for a while, and wanted to stitch one of the bigger designs from them and try the experience of having a kit, which I'll talk to you about the experience and everything a bit closer to the end of the month, and probably when I'm closer to the end of it. And it also has the button kit, like I said, all the floss, all the fabric. And so I will insert here the picture of what it looked like at the end of June. I only managed to stitch about 20 stitches on it and just do the heart. So couple of reasons. Like I mentioned in the June video, I had a query about some of the floss in the kit, and then I also wasn't quite sure I wanted to stitch with one strand. So it's being stitched on 32 count linen in Nightshade, Deadly Nightshade, and it's one strand of silk over 2, which is quite delicate, and it's not something I normally do, but that's sort of what the kit calls for, and it doesn't have enough floss to cover 2 over 2. So those were some of the reasons I sort of did very small progress on the day and then put it aside, and then I'll talk to you, like I said, about the progress and everything later in the month. I started it on my friend's birthday, again, Masha, the Bees Little Stitches on Instagram, and it was also the day of the Summerween. Characters from the Gravity Falls animation love Halloween so much that they celebrated twice a year, second time in June, and they called this one Summerween, and so that coincided with my friend's birthday. She was going to start something as well. We usually do a birthday start for each of us, and I suggested we do a Shepherd's Bush start this year, and so she started one of the patterns I gifted her, and I started this one. Yeah. and I have made, like I said, only tiny progress on it, and I'll show you some more of it in July. It lives in this beautiful silly bag with pumpkins and cats and skulls that I made specifically for it, but also for, you know, all of my future Halloween designs. And it just has black on the inside that is quilted, as I like to do. And then the last WIP that I have at the moment, like I said, I have 18, is a vintage Mill Hill kit that was actually reprinted and reissued a couple of years ago. So it's called B Square, and it has these beautiful beehives. I have made a project bag for it myself. So I had some leftover fabric from this project bag with the poppies that I got that wonderful sewies to make for me, and I wanted to make one myself, but a smaller size fit for my Mill Hill. So it's exactly the same combination. This fabric with yellow zipper, with yellow and white polka dot that is quilted, and I have got the 2 buttons and the bag of beads in here. I've actually started using the beads already, so I'm using everything from the kit as called for. I am stitching it on the 14 count brown perforated paper from the kit. I've made really good progress on it in June. I don't think I've stitched on it in July just yet, maybe like 100 stitches. So it's got 3200 stitches in it in general, and I'm at almost 30% at this point. I loved working on these specialty stitches, so it's like a straight satin stitch using 6 strands of DMC, and all of the beehives are quite intricate. They have a lot of, like I said, these straight satin stitches, and then beads, and then some other stitches that have stitching and back stitch and then incorporating beads as well, so it looks lovely. Again, because it's one of those that I have to hold with one hand and stitch with the other, this gets less progress at the time. And then I actually put the flosses on just a kind of thank you card I got with one of my orders, and then I've just punch holed it because I ran out of everything. Scroll frames, organizers for floss, just all the things. So this is how my floss lives for this one here. So the bead design I started on the next day after the Halloween one. So because I only made small progress on the Halloween design from Shepherd's Bush, and I didn't feel like that was enough of a start for my friend's birthday, I started the beehives on the day after. And again, dedicated it to my friend's birthday because Masha is not only a fan of Shepherd's Bush, she also loves everything to do with bees and bumblebees, so it only made sense for me to make this particular start. So here are all of my 18 WIPs that I have at the moment at the end of June, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you found something interesting and useful. Like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments or message me on Instagram, and refer to the spreadsheet that I will add to the link to in the description below, where you can see all of the design names, designers, fabrics and other materials that I use. And like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me. Have wonderful stitching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!